Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's class on a study into TQM or Total Quality Management of McDonald's. I hope all of you are doing well, and I'm looking forward to discussing this case study with you in this lecture. So as I mentioned, today we will really be focusing on all the total quality management practices that are taking place in McDonald's. And some of the key ones that we will really be talking about in this lecture include, employee involvement, focus on customer, benchmarking, continuous improvement, quality circles, Six Sigma, and reducing cycle time. Now, of all of these, we have spoken about a number of them, but we will be getting a more detail on specifically benchmarking and quality circles. Both of these topics I have, perhaps discussed, but very briefly. So this case study will also give you insight into, both of these TQM tools as well. So without further ado, I'm now going to start talking to you a little bit about McDonald's. And so before we start talking about all the amazing TQM tools that they are using, I kind of wanted to just talk to you a little bit about McDonald's. And on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see their very famous logo. So McDonald's is one of the premier franchising companies in the world. And this restaurant was originally opened in 1940, and it was originally a barbecue restaurant. And it had been started by two brothers, and this barbecue restaurant was located in California, and they offered some very interesting options of drive-throughs and car hop services. So car hop services basically means that, the waiters or waitresses would actually bring the food to the car, and people would eat in their car and then leave once they were done. So, after 1940s, initiation of the restaurant, it started doing really well. And in 1955, a gentleman by the name of Ray Kroc decided to buy McDonald's. And he then slowly began making it an international brand name. Now, since that time till today, McDonald's is now open in 117 countries. It has 30,000 restaurants, and daily 60 million people are eating at McDonald's. And therefore, this is basically the largest restaurant organization in the world. Now, of these 30,000 restaurants, 75% are open or owned by independent locals living in various countries across the world. So that's a little bit about McDonald's. As I just mentioned, it is one of the largest restaurant organizations in the world. There are several documentaries about how McDonald's is a fast food chain and unhealthy and all of that. And I understand that many people think that, ethically the food that they provide is not very healthy, and so it leads to obesity. So there have been a lot of talks about this, but net today, I'm going to really be focusing on what McDonald's has done from a TQM point of view to be able to maintain its quality and to grow at the rate that it has been able to grow. And just to give you a quick example, I was traveling at one time with a couple of friends. We went to Morocco. And one of the girls I was traveling with, said, as soon as she landed in Morocco, she said, I want to have a McDonald's. And I found it very interesting because she was of the opinion that in any country in the world, if she went to a McDonald's, it would provide good quality food. And this is a pretty much, across the board, people feel this way. So the interesting thing is, to really try and understand is, how does this happen? How is it that even though so many different, because these are franchises, right? So different people are running the business of McDonald's, but how is it that across the world they are still being able to offer good quality in all of their restaurants, and their brand name continues to be going very strong, especially in the fast food world. So that's why this case study is extremely important. So I would really like you to take this opportunity to really learn about all the great things that McDonald's is doing from a TQM point of view. And a lot of those best practices can obviously be then used in other organizations as well. All right, the first thing that the case study talks about is employee involvement. And so, this is a big TQM concept, and especially, Deming's 14 points really talks about, empowering employees as well. And when you empower employees, they feel an ownership. They want to do things in the best way possible. So, in order to really involve employees and empower them, McDonald's does a number of various things. First of all, McDonald's makes sure that employees are, dressed clean, neatly dressed, and they are clean. Employees have to be on time. And so, what McDonald's has done is they have created standard operating procedures for how their customers have to behave, so that their it's so basically the standard operating procedures focus on how the employees have to behave, so that customers get exceptional quality and service. And so the standard operating procedures, or the SOPs, include even the most basic things, such as coming on time, wearing gloves, when to prepare food, how to prepare food, how to make sure that restaurants are clean. Everything is listed out. So there is no room for, not knowing or making errors. If somebody follows the SOPs, then they are in great detail and explain everything. Now, at McDonald's, the word quality basically means that employees deliver fast, accurate, and friendly service with a smile. And so they have really made it very, very clear what quality means. So again, it means at McDonald's, it means employees deliver fast, accurate, and friendly service with a smile. Is and we'll talk more about, how they train employees in great detail to make sure that, quality is being able to be delivered across the board. They also, at McDonald's, in order to involve employees, they also believe that employees should also be involved in problem solving and decision making. And they believe at McDonald's that when you involve employees and you empower them and you involve them in problem solving and decision making, then overall the productivity of the organization and the performance of the organization improves. In the fast food industry, there are very high turnovers, and this is a very big challenge. Therefore, employee involvement is even more important. At McDonald's, they have a restaurant people strategy, and basically employees, they are given a number of benefits, trainings, and opportunities to really make sure these are usually kept very unique, to really make sure that employees feel that the organization cares about them and that they can make a career out of staying at the organization. Just to give you an idea, the kind of benefits that McDonald's provides to its employees includes health and protection. So employees are given life insurance, dental insurance, travel and business accident insurance. Additionally, they're given a lot of other benefits. They are given a base pay, but they're also given an incentive pay. Depending on which rank you're in, the company may offer, if you're in higher ranks, the company offers cars, things such as profit sharing, paid holidays, And also they at McDonald's, they offer education assistance. So if anybody wants to take courses or, and further study, they provide educational assistance. And this basically, all of these kind of benefits really help increase employee commitment and reduce the retention rates. Now, the organization McDonald's also has something known as the Hamburger University in Chicago, and this is serves as a training campus for restaurant managers and company leaders. And training at the Hamburger University is offered in 22 different languages. In addition to the Hamburger University, they also have 10 training centers. And also, just to mention, annually 50,000 managers graduate from the Hamburger University. So as you can see, they are investing in developing their employees. And again, this serves as great incentive for people to want to continue working at the organization. Another important thing to mention is that at McDonald's, they have videotapes to train every single worker who has direct contact with customers. So, for example, if they have to talk to somebody or to any customer, there is a videotape of exactly how they are supposed to interact. That videotape includes everything, including body language, your tone, what you're supposed to say, how you're supposed to say it. So there is very little room for error when you do training to this level. And this is something, of course, that is not done just in the head office. It is rolled out to all the various franchises. So no matter where people are in the world, they have to do this. Something simple, for example, greeting customers with a smile. Now, this is something very basic, but honestly speaking, if you meet, if it is not done, let's say an employee is having a bad day and they're grumpy and they behave bad with an employee, well, McDonald's realizes they may lose that customer permanently, and that will impact their profitability and the bottom line and their reputation. So they do not want to allow any of that. So even a smile is part of their standard operating procedures. So everything is documented and employees are trained. And so if the employee still doesn't do it, then they cannot turn around and say, well, we didn't know, because that information is very clearly videotaped and they're giving training on exactly how they are supposed to interact with customers. Next, another very interesting thing that a TQM practice that is prevalent in McDonald's is focus on the customer. And this is basically focus on the customer is an element, of TQM. And just to sort of crystallize this, McDonald's has its mission is to be our customers' favorite place and way to eat. So that is their mission, and everybody is supposed to, all the employees in the organization need to work towards this mission, and they need to be aware, and they are aware of this mission, to make sure that McDonald's is the favorite place for customers to eat, and a place for them to come and eat. Okay, so that's just very clear, that the focus is on the customer, right? The whole mission is to sort of satisfy and exceed the expectations of the customer. Additionally, McDonald's aims to provide friendly, hygienic, and enjoyable environment. They want to make sure that no matter what it is, the bathrooms are clean. Generally, if people come in, they want a nice, to make sure that the environment is really enjoyable for anybody who comes in. So the temperature is controlled, the music, is controlled, all of that to make the experience extremely enjoyable for customers. Now, because McDonald's has been getting a lot of negative media over several decades about, fast food and it being unhealthy, a lot of research is now being carried out to try and develop more nutritionally a better nutritional food that is being offered on the menu. And so now they are beginning in various different branches to bring in, categories such as salads and other, nutritionally healthy items on their um, menu. Food safety and quality is also kept in mind. They want to make sure that their customers, if they come and they eat, they go back feeling healthy and they don't feel sick in any way. And for to do this, they have very strict procedures on handling food, and they want to really minimize the exposure of food. So they don't want food just lying around. Everything has to be, there's certain strict security standards that need to be followed, food standards that need to be followed. Also, a couple of other things that McDonald's does to try and really focus on the customer is, one of the things is they're trying to be very environmentally responsible, and so they have started various initiatives in their restaurants to for energy conservation, anti-littering, recycling, and sustainable food practices. Um, Something else also that McDonald's does is they have introduced a chief happiness officer known as Ronald McDonald. And this is a big clown. You guys must have definitely seen Ronald McDonald at some point, has red hair. And the whole idea of Ronald McDonald is to entertain customers. And again, just to make the experience very pleasurable. And for children, many times you'll see, they're with the Happy Meals, there are little toys that are given, again just to focus on the customers and to make their experience very positive. There are some services such as Mick Delivery. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but in some branches they also offer delivery services. And one other big thing that they do to really satisfy the customer is they offer food 24/7. So their restaurants are open all day, all night. And so if a customer, kind of wants to have a late night meal or a really early morning breakfast, their restaurants are open. So all of this is being done, keeping the customer in mind, keeping their needs in mind, and trying to satisfy them to the best of their ability. Next, I want to talk to you a little bit about benchmarking. And now what benchmarking is basically it involves measuring products, services, and practices against your toughest competitors. So for example, if you're in a class, you are maybe, getting B's and C's, but if you start benchmarking or comparing yourself with the A grader, and you start you start to understand, you try and understand exactly what they are doing in order to get the good grades, then in that case you are benchmarking yourself against the A student. And that once you start benchmarking against the A grade student, you may be able to understand how you can improve. So maybe you can go and have a conversation and talk to them about their study techniques. What are they doing? How much time are they spending every week studying? How are they preparing for their exams? And when you start doing that, you will start improving. So this is an improvement tool. It's a continuous improvement tool. And as you know, Kaizen is also all about continuous improvement. So it's definitely a good TQM tool. And it is known, the statistics say that if you do benchmarking and you do it in the right way, it can help save an organization 30 to 40% in costs, which is a significant amount of money. Now, there are several different types of benchmarking, and the case study mentions four of them. One of them is internal benchmarking, and this is basically when you compare similar departments in your organization, and you compare them on performance, and you say, okay, well, this organization is doing better or worse, what can they do to improve? What can they do to come up to the optimal performance level, right, of the department that's doing very well? So that's basically internal benchmarking. Then there's competitive benchmarking. And here you compare, companies in the same market that have competing products or services or work processes. So here you're looking at your, competitor, and you're basically trying to understand how can you improve your performance? What is it that your competitors are doing that is better than you? And how can you incorporate some of those things, or maybe develop a strategy that's even better than your competitors? Another type of benchmarking is industry benchmarking, and this is done against industry leaders or against certain company best functional operations. So let's say, if, for example, you take any department, let's say it's a marketing department, and you say, okay, well, the marketing department in one FMCG is doing this. Well, what is happening in the rest of the industry? What are the marketing departments and other FMCGs doing? And then you basically compare, one particular department or functional area against others in the industry. So that's an example of industry benchmarking. There's also a generic benchmarking. Again, it's very similar. Generic is very similar to industry benchmarking. It focuses on really just comparing best work processes and procedures and functions. And so basically, instead of looking at the whole department, you are looking at various functions, and you are comparing and contrasting and trying to understand how you can improve. Okay. All right, let's talk about a couple of other things that McDonald's does. The next thing that McDonald's does is continuous improvement. So continuous improvement basically is constantly looking to improve quality standards. And there are a number of different things that McDonald's is doing. They are constantly researching for ways to improve. They, even their worst criticism, they try and take it positively. And so one of the worst criticisms that they have is that they offer unhealthy food. And so they have been trying to add vegetable offerings, new salads, just in order to be, healthier, and to give customers more smart choices, more smart and healthier choices to choose from. Also, in order to really counter this image of giving unhealthy food, McDonald's sponsors several major sports competitions such as the Olympics and FIFA. Um, In order to continuously improve, the company also offers on-the-job training. And as you all know, this is one of Deming's 14 points to continuously help, your employees learn and grow. So they offer continuous on-the-job training to all employees to improve quality throughout the organization. Their focus is to really have the right person on the right job. So they don't want to, they want to make sure that they optimize people's performance. So based on their backgrounds, they are put in various roles, and resources are allocated to different areas according to the abilities, quality, and experience of employees. So again, um, the resources aren't just equally handed out. It really depends, and they really are incentivizing performance. So if there are employees that are doing well, they're going to have more resources allocated to them. The company also has something known as it's a key performing indicator known as the supplier quality index. And this is very important because what McDonald's does is that they make sure that they measure the quality of all of their suppliers. And in order to do this, they do regular audits of all their suppliers. These are unannounced audits, and they go in 3 times a year, and they will go and visit, their suppliers. Even if there are farms, they will go and visit those suppliers 3 times a year, unannounced. And each one of these audits lasts about 2 days. So it's quite a in-depth, kind of training, audit. Okay, so next I want to talk to you about another very interesting tool that McDonald's is using, a TQM tool that they are using, which is a quality circle. And I have not taught this before in any of my classes, so it's important for you to really understand this tool. What a quality circle is basically it's employee participation method, and basically it's a mechanism to develop and utilize potential of people to improve product quality and productivity. So, long story short, you are trying to get the best out of your people, your employees, this quality circle. The idea is you're getting the best out of your employees to improve your product quality and improve your productivity. And how is this done? Well, basically, what happens is your employees that are doing similar work, so maybe they're in the same department, you get a group of 6 to 12 employees together that are doing similar work, and you ask them to meet voluntarily. And when they meet voluntarily, you ask them to identify areas of improvement in their work area. So you have these 6 to 12 people regularly meeting on their own in their free time, and they meet and discuss, like, look, we're all doing the same kind of work. Let's discuss how can we improve this. And in order to really, if they face, let's say there's a problem, they're saying that we have a very big problem and that's why we're not able to sort of um, do our job very well. Well, in that case, they are help they are encouraged to use proven techniques to solve problems, such as DMAIC, right? And this basically helps employees it encourages employees to focus on solutions rather than problems. And this also helps solve some of the big problems in the organization. And it's coming from employees, right? So they feel very empowered, they feel very good that they are helping improve the organization, and they own the solutions. So net these quality circles help improve product quality and productivity. And above all, it really helps improve the team spirit. Everybody is working together for a common goal to improve the organization. And that's something that is, every organization wants. You really don't want your employees pitted against each other and fighting, because that really never really, it doesn't benefit anybody. Okay, next, there is a big focus in McDonald's on Six Sigma. And so Six Sigma, as you know, it's really all about reduction of defects, reducing the amount of defects in an organization. And they have done a number of, at McDonald's, they've done a number of different initiatives to really reduce the number of defects. The first thing they've done is they've introduced a critical to quality food security program. They have, all these KPIs. They have supplier quality management system. I just spoke to you a little bit earlier about how they're constantly going and checking on the quality of their suppliers. As far as, within their restaurants, they have a, strong food safety management system. So, people have to be wearing gloves, people have to be, properly dressed, all of that. And when they're handling food, they can't leave the food outside. It has to be refrigerated. If it's being cooked, it has to be cooked at a certain temperature level. And so all of these things are, things that they have SOPs for, and that they are strongly following to reduce the amount of defects, right? Um, and next, if, for example, a mistake does happen, then immediately, if McDonald's gets, let's say, a complaint, well, then McDonald's will deliver the product to the customer at their home. So they take any sort of negative feedback coming in very seriously. And so if they get any sort of feedback, they will immediately go and try and fix the situation, and they will deliver the goods at the customer's home. Next is, process capability. So in order to reduce defects and all of that, they are constantly looking to reduce the time, the cycle time, but in order to do that, they are providing all kinds of various facilities, such as drive-throughs and all, so that customers can just come pick up their thing and leave. Um, Yeah, and one thing to kind of mention is that the organization is always using DMAIC to solve its problems. And we have done, I've discussed DMAIC with you as a problem solving TQM tool, but this is something they are constantly using in their organization. Also, in order to make sure that employees don't leave or stop coming to McDonald's because they get bored, they're constantly changing their menus, and they're also adding new in order to keep stable operations, they're constantly adding new items to their menu as well. Okay. Next, I wanted to just talk to you about something else that they are doing at McDonald's, which is reducing cycle time. They're constantly focusing on figuring out how to reduce the amount of time in which the goods, as soon as the order is placed, till the time that employees get what they have ordered, they want to reduce that time as much as possible. And so in order to do this, I kind of mentioned this a couple times before as well, but they have introduced a drive-through where customers can keep sitting in their car, they just press a button, place their order, and by the time their car comes on the other end of the road, the food is ready, it's delivered to them, given to them. And also in some countries they also have a Mc delivery, in which they, as soon as customers call a toll-free number, and then they are delivered the goods in a very short period of time. One thing that they are constantly doing at McDonald's is really simplifying work cycles and removing worthless steps in processes. And so this is basically, the whole, process re-engineering. So this is something that they constantly are doing at their organization. In general, by using TQM practices, McDonald's, it basically helps them in many different ways. It helps them break silos in their organization. It helps them increase teamwork, reduce costs, increase profitability. All of this because of TQM, right? So huge benefits. So additionally, it helps, gain competitive advantage in the industry, increase retention of employees, increase their reputation and innovation. And so with that, I come to the conclusion of this case study, and I hope you realize, some of the amazing tools that are being used at McDonald's from a total quality management point of view, and the big benefits that they're deriving from this. And with that, I come to an end, and I hope you enjoyed this case study and you got to learn of some great TQM tools and techniques that are being used at McDonald's and that can also be used at various other organizations. Thank you very much.